God bless you, women. I see a lot of you women is telling your story. A lot of you women that's went through a lot of trauma after divorce, cheating, and all this kind of stuff here. Well, I told my story. I was married several years. I was. And I know that I always was a woman that, was independent and worked, in the midst of it. I was not just a set at home mom. That was not in me, and I was a minister, all these many years, as well, working for the ministry, as well. Sold out to the Lord, doing the work of the Lord, and it's good. Like I said, you ladies, stuff, but I really truly right now feel very good about myself because after these many years of being divorced, I have a peace. I have not dated anyone after the divorce because I said, okay, I'm going to make sure this is the will of God. And I know what I want. I'm not going to jump into anything. And so I just had been, letting God take completely control, enjoying my life, and doing the work of the Lord, focusing on the Lord, because I know as doing the work of God, then all these things is going to line up. When I stay focused on doing the work of God, mainly putting him first. That's the key to it, women, is putting God first in everything. Then all these other things will be added unto you when you delight yourself in him. So that's what I'm doing. I'm delighting myself in the Lord, because actually as dating actually someone right there, going out, drinking coffee, maybe, park or something like that. And see, some people don't realize that you have to do that, but you also got to have boundaries as well, because some people say, well, if you keep doing this, how in the world are you going to ever get to know that person if you don't go out and start talking to them and, this and that, so, you know, I know what I want, I know I'm looking at a person's spirit that's sold out like me. I already know what I want. Because if it ain't lining up like I am, baby, and I'm working for God, then it ain't finna line up. It ain't happening. I'm clipping it quick, so it have to be lined up. They have to be sold out to the Lord the way I am, as on one accord. You know what I'm saying? Working for God. And I don't have to pull on them, telling them that you need to read the Bible, that you need to go to church, or you need to do the work of the ministry along with me, hand in hand. Because, see, I'm looking at somebody going to be working hand in hand. We're going to be working together in this ministry together, reaching souls for the kingdom is my purpose. I know everybody else have their own story, but this is my story, so this is what I am, and I know God is going to manifest this. He going to manifest this. Ain't no devil in hell can stop what God have for me. God be the glory, because I'm delighting myself in him, and I feel so great about myself. Hello, you guys. God bless you. And I know God is getting ready to move for me, and nobody can stop that, because my peace, God had me where he had me right now. God's going to open doors. God be the glory. And I know that God, the one that who God have, I already know, because like I said, they have to be sold out like me, one accord. That's what you're looking for, women, as the family of God. Like I said, I always have been an independent woman. I had a business, all this, and worked a lot as well on, jobs as well, many of them, and profession. But anyways, I know what I want, and I know, and I feel like I have a peace. I have a great peace that I never had in my life, and I don't have no hatreds or nothing like that. Cause see, I already knew where I was headed anyway. And see, nobody had nothing to do with anything about me and him. I'm not going to blame anybody because I can't, because God already had spoke to me on some things. And see, I know this. You can't force nobody to do nothing. Understand that. You can't do that. And this is real life. And some people may not really never understand where I'm coming from, but I know. And I know the voice of God. See, I didn't have to do nothing. God done it all for me. So I'm not talking, putting nobody down, but it is what it is. That's the past now, but I like to share my story, you know, and, cause I started seeing things right after, I was married, signs or something. I said, oh, okay. Sometimes we don't pay attention to things we don't, as people of God, but I did, I started seeing little things and stuff like that after. But anyways, I know the whole lot. I never said anything, but anyways, God's grace is sufficient. The same way you in a situation, God will expose it and get you out of a situation like they doing these other women. He will expose and tell you what you need to do. See, it ain't just something that just happened. These women is seeing that they found out, about their spouse doing all this towards them, They have all right to do this. Yeah, we understand that, that we want to work out on things too. But at the same time, ain't nobody finna be a fool either. They keep repeatedly doing the same thing. See, ain't nobody finna go that route. Ain't nobody finna be no fool. Well, let's reconcile. No, come on here. Ain't nobody even going that route, baby. When you keep repeatedly they doing it. So we need to make it plain on some things. You know what I'm saying? In relationship and marriages, all this kind of stuff, if they're doing it repeatedly. And these women, I'm listening to some of their stories here, just a little bit of it. No, you have all right to do what you need to do. All rights. You can't make you can't make that man do, and then they go back and do the same thing repeatedly. So we got to be real with stuff too. We do. People are always talking about, well, is it a chance to reconcile? No, baby, no. Ain't no reconcile here. No. When you've been caught in the midst of, and then they repeatedly, no. But anyways, we have to use common sense too. No communication. A lot of these women, they shut down on you. Then you already know something when they shut down. And they gaslight you. Some of them will find something on you just to arguments and all this kind of stuff like that, because that's just how it is, so they can flee and do what they want to do. See, it's game. It's game what they run. Some. I'm saying some now, and I'm not talking about all of them, because there's some real ones out there, real men of God that really love the Lord too, and I know that. But I'm just saying some out there. Some might have wounds on the soul still never been healed, and you bring baggages to a marriage, then it's a problem. When you still carrying baggages and wounds, and see, if your wounds ain't never been healed, you're gonna be taking the same thing in there, and you think that same person is the same way as that other party was. I'm preaching this. Yes, I am. And you got to get healed from that stuff before you can see. I've been healed from it. I've been healed. I've been had let go because God already had prepared me in my quiet time. I already knew where I was headed. God be the glory. God bless you guys. Stay tuned. Praying prophetess, baby.